What's happening, guys? So back with reverse diet updates now. I'm going to do Vivyen's today, and then I will do mine for Monday after this. So it's been 2 weeks for both of us. You know, like I talked about in my last updates with the holiday season and stuff, we'd be a little bit behind. But I've got some good updates here, so I want to kind of get you caught up on how things are going, how things went, and more specifically some of the mental changes that are happening for Vivyen that are very positive. And this is kind of some of the things that aren't often talked about with reverse dieting is a lot of the mental benefits that can come from it, especially if you're kind of introducing a more flexible approach while getting your calories up after a history of kind of trying to keep calories too low and constantly binging and going over and under and having a lot of problems with that. So anyway, this is now for what we got, weeks 4 and 5. So week 4 was the week after we had the whole binging episode thing that I told you about, and for the most part she just got back on track. She was still a little bit high for the remaining days of her trip. She was gone on a trip, so things were a little bit out of normal scenarios, and it was fine. Like, one of the things that she talked about was she found that if she just stayed with the higher calories and was kind of okay with it and didn't stress out about it and didn't try to make up for it, it kept her from kind of just blowing it out in binging. So that can be a really important thing to kind of keep in mind is, while sure we want to try to stay within our calories when we can, also going over and being okay with that can be really beneficial and actually help you eat less calories if it keeps you from going way over and binging, because you feel like, well, since I'm not on plan, what's the point? So by the end of week 4, she was actually up about a pound, a little over a pound, up to 128.2 for the average for the week. However, as she got back from her trip and she got back on the scale, I also noticed that weight was starting to trend back down. And that's going to be the case quite often when you go on a trip, when food's been a little bit high. You know, you're going to come back, weight's going to be a little bit elevated, but then it's going to start trickling back down. So I took that and went, hey, okay, calories have been up. She was over calories for a while, and that's only going to help metabolism a little bit, right? And she's kind of getting back into the swing of things here. So let's go ahead and still give a bump. So I still gave her 10 grams of carbs, figuring that things were still going to settle pretty well, and they're going to kind of come back down to normal, and we want to kind of keep the reverse process going and get out of the lower calories so that she can enjoy food a little bit more and be more likely to stick to the plan. So that's one of the things you always have to keep in mind. If calories are low but you can't stick to it, by raising your calories, if that allows you to now stick to the plan better, you're actually going to end up eating less in the long term because you avoid kind of some of the binging behaviors that come along with it. So that's one of the benefits of reverse dieting, is once calories get up, you don't necessarily have this craving and desire to try to overeat all the time because you're not trying to stick to such low calories. Fast forward to the end of week 5, and not only did weight continue to trickle back down to where it had been before, but it actually dipped pretty dang low, much lower than it had been previously. So she lost about a pound and a half, a little over a pound and a half from the previous week. So obviously things settled down very well. Things were going very well for her mentally. She talked about some of the changes that are happening, getting a better understanding of flexible dieting, getting a better understanding of reverse dieting, and getting the calories up. And what she really mentioned was how looking at the average for the week really helped her. So one of the things that she doesn't like to do is, if she goes over one day, to try to compensate that by going under a different day, because that triggers some kind of disordered eating patterns for her. So this is where we have to look at each individual and understand that everyone's going to be a little bit different. Some people do really well if they go over, they just kind of go under a little bit and even that out. Other people, if they try to even it out, that triggers something in them that is not a good thing, that can lead to more binge type tendencies. So for her, if she goes over a little bit, she's better off just getting back on plan rather than trying to make up for those calories and getting some of these emotional triggers that we don't want. And by looking at the weekly average, it really has helped her quite a bit understand that, hey, if I go over one day, it's really not a big deal. So if you look at her week here, she had a day where she went over by about 100 calories. Again, not really a big deal to begin with, but by looking at that as the average for the week, understanding that 100 calories spread over 7 days is almost nothing. So if you look at the end of her week, she got back on plan, wasn't really a big deal. She was only off by like 10 calories or so, and it was nothing. So this was well within 100% of compliance. I usually consider, depending on the person and their phase and what they're trying to accomplish, 100% compliance be within 5 grams of each macro and within maybe 30 to 50 calories for the week. Obviously, the closer we can get, the better, but at the same time, we don't want to aim for perfection and lead that to more disorder disordered behavior. So it's different for everybody, but and we don't have to be 100% compliant to have a good week. I'm just saying, like, when I look at like a quote-unquote perfect week, this is well within what a perfect week would look like, even with an overage. So even if it was like 200 or 300 calories, if you still look at just the average for the week, that minimizes things really significantly. So if you're over 200 calories one day and you hit your calories every other day, by the end of the week, your average calories are only going to be over by not even 30 calories. That's nothing. It means nothing. So we don't want to get caught up in this, I overate one day and it blew with everything and I'm so screwed. No. Look at the whole week. Look at the week as a whole. It makes a huge difference. And one day is not going to make or break anything, especially when we're only talking about a couple hundred calories, right? The body doesn't store fat that easily. It's not a big deal. And by looking at averages like this, it can really help tremendously. One of the other things she talked about is she's doing a lot better with her triggers. So previously, just having a little bit of a chocolate or even going to the store and buying some sweets from the store would trigger this kind of behavior to eat as much as you can or buy as much as you can of these sweets. And she's noticing that she's now able to handle things a lot better. So if she wants a piece of chocolate, whether it's planned in the day or not planned in the day, she is now able to have that little bit and not feel the need to just kind of like go crazy with it. And she feels satiated and she feels good with having that small amount to eat, and that is a huge step in the right direction. And I'm very happy for her for that, because that's going to make a big difference. Now, is she never going to have another craving in another episode ever again for the rest of her life? You know, chances are she's probably going to have some more ups and downs, right? Let's just be realistic. But she's starting to understand, she's starting to get a better grasp on things, and this is why, in my opinion, that her weight is coming down now and things are going so well with the actual reverse process, because she is so much more adherent to the plan now. And part of that is the calories being higher, and that's one of the things she said. She said, I'm finding that 1,800 calories is plenty of food for me. It feels like an abundance of food. So I mean, at one point she was used to having only 1,500 calories. Now she's up to a point that's more reasonable for her. That also makes it so you don't feel like you need to overeat, because you feel like you're getting enough food. So that's, again, another thing that is not talked a lot about with the reverse diet is, okay, yeah, we're trying to improve your metabolism and get out of a dieting history and all that type of stuff, but it also really helps you go, okay, like I'm enjoying enough food now, I feel good about things, and it really helps you become more adherent and create a better relationship with food. And when we do this, then down the road, when we go into a cutting phase to try to get some weight off, if desired, now we're in a much better position, not only physiologically, but also psychologically to do so. All right, no more all or nothing. So anyway, with the big drop in weight from last week, I did go ahead and make a decent increase this week. It still wasn't as big as I think we probably could get away with, but I still want to keep the pace slower, especially with her telling me that, hey, I feel like I have an abundance of food already. I'm feeling good. I'm in a good spot. There's no sense in just throwing a crap load of calories at her. It would just be foolish to me. So while we're still giving a decent increase, it's not like a crazy amount. Like, I could easily probably throw 100 calories at her and she'd be fine. What we're going to do is give her 10 carbs, 2 fat, which would be, what would that be, 58 calories? Still a pretty dang good increase. But, you know, I still suspect that weight's going to continue to, it's either going to continue to drop a little bit most likely, or it's at least going to hold steady pretty well. And we don't need to do anything crazy. And actually, one of the things that I'm going to be talking about pretty soon is my change in opinion on reverse dieting lately. You know, it used to be kind of geared towards, okay, let's get as many calories as we possibly can. I'm starting to kind of get away from that a little bit, and now kind of focus a little bit more on, okay, let's just get them out of a dieting phase, get them out of a deficit, and get them into a spot where they're not trying to lose anymore, get them into a spot where they're a little bit more comfortable with calories and hold there, and not necessarily try to get every last little calorie we can. But I'll talk more about that in the future. So anyway, things are going very well. Weight is actually dropping, not the goal, but always a welcomed thing in a reverse diet. Body composition is improving as well. But most importantly, to me, more than anything, the relationship with food and this whole process is improving dramatically, and that's how we see long-term results. So any questions, as always, please let me know, and I will talk to you on Monday.
I'm addicted to the love that you're giving. Every minute, every day I've been craving.